right, another episode of National Sales Meeting, the Fireside Chat. This is some of my favorite time of the year. As I've said before, I get to talk to some of the coolest tech companies in the M&E, Pro AV space, general purpose communications, and I'm kicking it up a notch with bringing in some folks from the purple. Well, more specifically, one folk from the purple.
Little purple, yeah.
You got a little purple.
Little purple.
Daniel Borches from BrightSign is here in studio today.
How you doing?
Welcome to Sonoma, man.
Good to be here. You guys picked some good spots. I love this.
Right?
The vibe is great. The fire is awesome.
As you said, either cigars or brandy snifters, either one.
Yes, for sure. Both.
Or both, yeah. Would have made this perfect.
Absolutely.
All right, BrightSign.
So, yeah, I mean, BrightSign, a lot of things going on right now. We just did ISE recently and officially announced our Bright Alliance, which is a program that we're putting together for our CMS partners. So there's not a lot of information out about it yet. They're still actually rolling it out to the partners. But basically, it's a loyalty program, if you will, that allows us to engage more with our CMS partners.
Nice.
Because they're a huge part of our business, you know.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we talk about this almost every time you're here. You guys are that one, strange company in the industry that says, we have a player, you can run our software, you can run their software. Right? But you can still have the best player.
Right, exactly. And honestly, it's our software that sort of gets us in front of the customer in some cases, right? But and our software is amazing, does a ton of stuff, right? And there's not much you can't do. But there is there's a preference, right, if you will, for how you want to use that software, who's using it, right? Like their technical ability, how much they want to learn, right? So our software is great, but it's a little engineer minded. I call it sort of a DIY approach, right? It's a free software. We support it that way. We do a lot of online videos and things like that. If someone's looking for more hand-holding, we always recommend using some of the CMS partners. It's a paid solution, but you get something for what you pay for, right?
You guys have a great resource engine of content to help get you out of probably like 80% of whatever snafu you're in with a BrightSign player. And I love it because even back in the day when customers would be like, how do I, and my click, send, there's the answer. It's in a tutorial, it's got a video. So kudos to you guys for just building a great back end over the years to support the customer base.
And honestly, what we've realized even just recently is, we've started focusing more on a lot of the support tickets that we get and where they fit, right? And what we found is that there's so many tickets that focus on player setup and device provisioning. And so we're actually, even though we've done a great job over the years of putting together video content that works well, we're actually looking to get even better with that, right? So it's going to be more of a choose your own adventure, if you will. Like, how are you setting the player up? Because one video doesn't, one size doesn't fit all. There's lots of different ways to set a player up. You can use different software, wired or wireless. There's all these things that come into play. So having those variables and having videos that are shorter snippet videos to say, oh, I'm doing wireless, so I'm gonna click on this video, right? The idea is to bring it down to a level that's really easy. And so I can watch 3 small videos that are a minute long and my player's up and running, right? As opposed to having to figure out, okay, where do I go? This one video doesn't cover what I want it to cover.
So, I've been playing with digital signage a long time. You've been at this a long time. Do you think the signage market is getting stale, or is there new things happening that are keeping it interesting? Look, there's so many CMS partners, for one, right? Everybody's now trying to embed digital signage into their TVs and make it sort of just part of the system package. Is it sort of jumped the shark and become this like flattened out thing that everybody does, or are there still differentiators?
I think there's plenty of room to grow in the signage market for sure. It's one of the few growing categories still in the market in terms of Pro AV, and I think I thought it was interesting when you go to one of these shows, right, and you see all these really cool and unique applications, right? Like you go to a retail show and you see these end caps that have the signage that changes the pricing, right? They can do it. The resellers can do it on the fly, right? They can change the pricing from the back room.
Remotely from the cloud. It's tied in.
Exactly. They can go. You don't see that in stores very often, right? It's a cool, unique thing, and it can be done, and people know it can be done, but it hasn't really been pushed out to the market as much. So I think there's still a lot of room to do a lot of these really cool, unique things that will become more mainstream. You guys work with Nexmosphere, for example, right? So that's a great company that does a lot of cool, unique trigger sensors, right? And I think they're even haven't touched just tip of the iceberg for those guys, right? There's so much they can do.
Well, it's scary to think about the programming, the connectivity of how am I going to get these sensors to connect to this video so when they pick up that bottle, right? It's still a little bit daunting, I think, for most people.
Yeah, it is, and we help. Along with that, we've done webinars and things like that partner with Nexmosphere to show how to do some basic programming. And there are companies out there that know how to do that as well that can offer a service to do that also. And again, it's you guys work with resellers, and they're about growing their business, and so anytime they can sort of become an expert on something, so learning Nextmosphere, understanding how to program it and make it work, then they become this sort of unstoppable force to be able to provide full solutions for their customers, and they become more intriguing.
How do you think DV LED has fit into all of this? Because I feel like that's the other technology that sort of just exploded the last couple of years. How often are you guys finding yourselves on an LED display?
Probably not as much as we want to. I think that's one of our focuses this year, is actually to focus on that market. And we have all these great CMS partnerships, right? I don't think we have a lot of DV LED partnerships that we should have, right? So I think we have our XC series of players that are AK capable, right? So that's something we want to push out there.
It's a perfect player for it, because it's got the palette size to be able to handle odd LED shapes and sizes.
Exactly. And so what we want to do this year is really focus on that market specifically, and pick a few partners that we can work with. I mean, I think the overall goal is to partner as much as we possibly can to make sure that we are involved, and they know that behind that wall they can put a BrightSign player and it will work.
Yeah. Crazy. It's a good time. So other than the new AK player, are there any changes that have come into the hardware landscape?
So I think hopefully this month we'll be shipping our dual output XT player. So it's the XT 2145 that'll start. That's the last product in the series, in the 5 series that'll start shipping.
Nice.
So that's going to be, there's a little overlap with our XC because we have a dual output XC, but that XT 2145 has the HDMI pass-through. Yep. So that's another additional feature that you.
And that's actually one of my favorite features, like that, the HDMI pass-through. I think that when it sort of, I feel like, disappeared for a little while, and now that it's back, I'm very excited because that gives people like local content capability.
Right.
Like not all signage is pre-planned, pre-scheduled out, well, it is always pre-scheduled, but not all of it is coming from outside. Sometimes it's local, right? You're in a house of worship and you want to have the stage feed, right? And rather than trying to hook up an IP schema to stream it, you can just plug in an HDMI cable and there it is.
Right, it's that traditional L-bar type of situation, right? Restaurants, bars, that's a market.
Stadiums.
Stadiums, even, healthcare facilities, waiting rooms, things like that. There's always opportunities to do things like that.
Yeah, the waiting room. It's like, I'm waiting, I'm watching the surgery. Wait, maybe not. Maybe not. That might be too much.
That's too much, yeah. That's different category.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. What else is exciting about the signage industry right now? I mean, what do you see the big changes are?
In terms of, to your point, the DV LED thing is a big thing, right? There's a lot of DV LED manufacturers that are popping up and becoming relevant, right? And so I think that's driving the cost down a bit.
Yeah.
And so it's making it more of a gettable solution than it used to be, where it used to be you'd be priced out immediately and people would go with a projector to screen, for example. And now you can get these large LED solutions for a lot cheaper price point, and it allows you to get into projects that you couldn't get into before.
Well, and there's some value to that. I mean, the problem, as you get to that scale, the resolution of these LED walls are not standard. So many of them are not 1080, 4K, just your standards.
Right.
They're unique shapes, they're unique sizes, and you have to have a player that can meet that expectation.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one area where a BrightSign player has always shined, is you can do odd palettes. You can do unique shapes with your content. And now with the new multi-head players, now you can do very unique shapes and content
And
sizes.
they have the processing power to handle whatever you throw at it as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. What about on the software side? What's changing up in the cloud and what you're doing in sort of the BrightSign universe?
Right now, we're working through our cloud services. There's some things that are coming that I can't say yet. Second half of the year.
I tried, folks. I promise. I tried to get
no
them
spoilers
to spill
here.
the beans.
No spoilers. I am not going to be responsible for that.
Misty would call me. She would.
Oh, she called me first.
True.
Right, and then they'd be looking for a new channel sales manager.
You
for
did good,
BrightSign.
Misty. Don't worry.
Locked it. We're good. But yeah, so there's some things coming that are coming in the second half of the year that I think will be big for our CMS partners, because obviously the beauty of what we have in terms of the solution with BSN.cloud is that with Control Cloud, you can utilize our Control Cloud, which is the device management system, in addition to a third-party CMS for your content, right? So using those things in tandem is a big deal. And so we'll have some things that'll make that even a better experience going forward.
And I think that's one that probably the dealers need to think about, right? This is why to choose a BrightSign player for your customers.
Right.
Is because of that exactly. It's this concept of having to roll a truck when something doesn't work, right? Where
Correct.
they could be not having to monitor the content, but just the player itself to say, hey, are my customers players online?
Right.
Are they working?
Right.
Right? Are we getting that level of feedback? And it's such a nice service you can add to your customer to say, hey, I'll know if there's a problem before you'll know if there's a problem.
Right.
And that's one that I think maybe they miss, because
it's the hidden costs of signage, right?
Yeah.
So when you deploy a system and then there's challenges or issues or things you have to go address, you have to roll a truck to get out there and fix them. And with Control Cloud, you have the ability to do a lot of things remotely. So remote reboots, remote restarts. You can get images, snapshots of what's on the screen. So again, you can do that from anywhere, and you can check on your fleet and make sure everything's working properly.
Yeah. Okay, one last question.
Mm-hmm.
Is the locker room coming back to Infocom this year?
I think the locker room's in Misty's house. I think she took it and
Seriously?
brought it home. Yeah. I mean, it's got her face all over it, so I'm sure, she probably...
Well, I guess I'm thinking last year it was the CEO's face.
It had Jeff's too, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's now CTO, so...
CTO, that's right.
Yeah,
he's moving over.
exactly. But
Okay,
yeah.
so tell Misty she needs to bring it back, because I think if people missed that last year, and so what we're talking about is BrightSign powered a locker room system that through an RFID chip, you were able to unlock the door and the image changed on the screen. Right. I mean, that was such a cool, to me, environment to showcase that all the interactivity that we're talking about, the Nexosphere connections, how it all can do something different than we think of as traditional signage.
Right. That also tied it to CMS as well, right?
Yeah.
So that was a CMS that did the content as well. So there's lots of pieces and parts to it, but you can put together a really cool solution. Again, that's more of, when we talk about digital signage is not just images and videos anymore.
Right.
It's experiences, right? That's the truth.
Well, and it's not just for public spaces anymore either, right? That was the other piece of that I thought was like, locker rooms matter too, apparently,
Yep, absolutely.
Brilliant, love it. Well, tell Misty we want that back, because it was cool. Awesome. Hey, listen, this has been Fireside with Daniel Borches of BrightSign fame. If you want to know more about BrightSign, reach out to actually just brightsign.biz, because there's so much info there.
Absolutely.
Or hit up one of the JB&A team to get more info, to get a demo, to get a player, just to get anything. In fact, if you just want coffee, you can reach out to them too. It's more fun that way. All right, Daniel, thanks for being here.
You got it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We'll see you all in the next episode.